Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Hartley. This podcast exists to equip and inspire your heart-centered leadership. Every week, we bring interviews with some of the greatest heart sets and mindsets on the planet. I hope the heartprint of our time spent together is that it creates new possibilities for you and all those you come into contact with. If you'd like to explore what we could make possible for you, then head to abty.co.uk/connect and book in a free 30-minute call to begin our journey together. I just want to express a huge amount of gratitude to our sponsors, Exhale Coffee. I have been a big fan of Exhale Coffee since meeting Alex and the team back in 2022. Exhale is the first coffee to be sourced, roasted and lab tested specifically to maximize its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory potency. An independent lab test has shown that 1 cup of Exhale Coffee has the same antioxidant power as 1.8 kilos of blueberries or 55 oranges. I'm a huge fan, and Mrs. H loves the decaf, especially because she knows that Exhale use the mountain water decaffeination process, which uses only pure glacial water from the highest mountain in Mexico and no nasty chemicals. Simply head to exhalecoffee.com/ABTY for your special offer. And lastly, before I introduce this week's guest, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would really help us leave a greater heartprint on this world. On episode 259, I'm joined by Brent Pohlman. Brent is the owner and CEO of Midwest Laboratories. He strives to bring his A game to work daily. At 15, Brent landed his first job at Midwest Laboratories, the company that his father founded in 1975. He became CEO in 2016 and is passionate about teaching others to lead effectively. As a man of faith, he coaches people up, leads from the heart, and has achieved success by focusing on people, processes, and technology in that order. Grateful to build on his father's legacy, Brent aspired to be a leader and owner of a great company. His transformation has convinced him that leaders must look deeper within themselves to find their true identities. He believes the only way to lead is from the heart and is passionate about helping others learn how to lead others effectively. He's the author of Leaders Look Within, a book that will help you dig into your heart and unleash the true leader spirit inside of you. It's episode 259 with Brent Pohlman. Brent, welcome to Always Best in Yesterday podcast. How are you, brother?
Good, Ryan. Ready to get into this discussion. Sounds like it's going to be a fun time here.
You're a man after my own heart. You're a self-confessed man who leads from the heart. And it's interesting, isn't it? I think some people either just take to that because they've always known that that's a sense of who they are, that's their sense of identity. And sometimes there's a path of like pain and cracking open. Like which one of those two paths do you kind of resonate with?
Well, you made me uncomfortable there from the right there, but yeah, mine would definitely be the pain path. I did not get here the easiest way, but you have to find it. You definitely have to find it, and it's so life-changing and so transformational once you find that.
100%. And the way I see it's almost I guess an awakening, isn't it? It's sort of you see the world in a different way, and all of a sudden you can't go back to the way things were. And I just love that you're a CEO of an organization that has a commitment to put people first. Like, what a powerful thing for the people that you lead every single day for them to experience.
Yeah, no, and I think we need leaders like never before. I mean, all you have to do is look at the United States and our presidential race, and that's the two best people we have running for president. I mean, it's scary how leadership has just really fallen off, really, in my opinion. That's my opinion. We won't get political here, but we do need leadership like never before.
I agree with you. My past life was in UK police service, and we wouldn't have taken on people to do one of the lowest ranked things, compared to what some of your presidential candidates have said in the public domain. We have to raise the standards for sure. And also, I don't think that Hollywood helps. I don't think Hollywood helps with this image and perspective of what a leader is. It's not like the 300 where we're gonna go over the battles and lead people into war. It's in the everyday. It's in the intricate moments of I have a word here always, but yesterday it's called Heartprint, and it comes from the term of the Lockhard's exchange principle, which is this idea that every contact leaves a trace. And I
Yeah.
know this is dear on your heart because I believe that you work with this spirit, which is it's not just about what people can do whilst they work for you. It's about when those people go home to their families and their communities, and you've got an organization there that can make a difference to people, not just whilst they're in your care, but when they go home.
No, and you're absolutely right. I never thought we started this in 2024 here. I have weekly meetings with my chief strategy officer, and we basically talk about the world and how crazy it is that if we don't continue, we don't want to fall off. We got to continue to the path of leading this company with strong values
Yeah.
and our stick with our mission and vision, and don't lose that sense of purpose, because it's
Mm.
so easy, because everything tells you to go off of that and do something else. We don't want to lose that. So we have meetings just to talk about that. Who thought we would have to do that? But it really helps to just really affirm and really support each other when we do those things, and we drive the company that way.
Help set the context. Tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us a little about your career so far.
Sure. So Midwest Laboratories, we're an analytical testing lab. We're in three verticals: human health, animal health, agriculture, environmental. And with that, we have 300 employees,
Hmm.
and we do testing on a large scale, I would say. Like farmers and growers, we test their soil. And after the fall, during the fall, after harvest, that's our busiest season. And we get anywhere from 20,000 to 40,000 soil samples a day here. So
Wow.
we get to go through a number of samples. We run the methods, and then we tell the growers or farmers, we give them the numbers so that they can go back and apply nutrients to their soil for the next year, and make
Mm.
sure that that ground is ready and capable for more yield.
Mm. I'd love to know how you create the environment and the culture that bridges the gap between testing, the act of I'm just testing soil to a greater purpose. Like how does one do that? Or how have you done that?
Yeah. And I think we're still working. I will say we'll always be working at that. I
Yeah.
think people come here and they want to know what their test is, but I didn't realize many people came here, had no do the test and had no idea what the numbers meant. And
Mm.
I think by tying the purpose to that, it really starts there. So we're trying to do that part. They come out of school, they know how chemistry works or how biology works. But I think really knowing and really doing that purposeful work, and I would say our younger people actually grasp that more so than even
Mm.
10 or 20 years ago. So they want to do work that's meaningful and purposeful. So I think they're open to that. So I think we try to bridge that gap and say, you're doing meaningful, purposeful work. You're saving the country. You're making our food supply safe every single
Mm.
day. And what a way to live. I mean, that is just
Mm.
a great way to connect the dots with your
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, I was. It's a funny old segue, but at the weekend just gone, I was down delivering a workshop. A heart-centered leader brought me in. He's running a mechanics workshop, not your traditional kind of consulting team development environment, but that's the leader that he is, right? He believes in creating an environment where his team can come and learn, to come and grow, find a sense of purpose and contribution. And one of the mechanics works outside of the workshop. He goes and does a bit more rural kind of changing the tires of tractors and stuff like that. And we were talking, he was sharing this story. He says, sometimes I get calls at 11 o'clock at night and it's a farmer and he's got a tire that's gone. And that guy says, if that farmer's got livestock, I need to get out there and change that tire at 11 o'clock at night because I know the impact. And it's like, wow, it's no longer just about the actual act of doing the tire. It's like, it's about livelihood. It's about animal welfare. And it's just like, those aren't, those aren't intellectual, logical things we can stick in a strategy. That's a product of the heart. That is having a sense of compassion, a sense of values, and it's getting people to look within and go deeper.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. And as you said, it really does start with people first, and that's how you get how you really move towards that, I think. I
Mm.
believe. And I didn't always have that. And we talked about, I've only been in this position since 2020. My dad started the company in 1975. I came back in 2005. And then it was my dad and I from 2016 to 2020 after his two partners retired. And so there was a lot of stuff I had to really think about and go through as this development or transformation as a leader. But no, I would say definitely people first, and then that you can go from there.
Well, at least you had a nice couple of easy years to get through.
Yes.
2020 wasn't quite your average.
No, no, it wasn't. But no, and again, I think we'll get into more and more of those specifics as we talk here. But yeah, it's been quite a journey to get here to this place.
I know you're a man of faith. I was reading in your book, Leaders Look Within, you talking about this wonderful trip that you had, and you talk about renewing your vows at the wedding of Kana. Like, tell us about that experience. What was that like?
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. That was in 2019.
Mm,
I would say I was really on the cusp. I didn't even know if I could even do that trip because I didn't know if I could leave the business. I was still kind of going through that piece. And then
mhm,
once I got over to the Holy Land, I mean, just being there at all the different places just
mm,
really was impactful. And I've read about it for most of my life, but to see the actual place, I mean,
mm,
it's almost overwhelming when you go to those places and you see that for the first time. And
mm,
yeah, very, very it just really just makes you think what's really true here and what's purposeful and what it really makes your faith come alive when you go over to the Holy Land. If you get a chance, you should just do that. I mean, everyone should do that.
mm.
It's impactful.
Mm. I know that you share a story in the chapter of your book called Heavy Heart, and I resonate. You know, I had a loved one. My nan passed last year, similar cancer battle, and I had that kind of Book of Ecclesiastes moment as we all surrounded her on her bed, and just this moment of everything's meaningless in a paradoxical sense. And I think what that really does is when you start to think that it's meaningless. I was talking about the achievements, the very much kind of material things of this world, and I think you and I have come to a similar conclusion about what really matters most, and it's not things of this world. It's something quite different.
It is. It is. No, and I think that really was impactful 2017 when I lost my mom to cancer. And I said I wanted to be intentional about my faith, but I didn't know what that meant.
Mm,
And I'll never forget my dad and I went on her birthday. She died in August, and we went on her birthday in November to a conference, walked into this coffee shop, and on the wall there was this chalkboard that said, "How can we pray for you?"
mm,
And I looked at my dad and I said, I think mom's trying to tell us something. And I think God is obviously is working here.
yeah,
And if you come into our main entrance, we have a prayer wall in our main entrance where
yeah.
any visitor, employee, guest can write anything that they want to. It's non-invasive. It's not, I don't promote it. I don't force it. It's just a way, again, to say that we care. I mean, who doesn't want to be
Mm,
prayed for? If you've got an
mm,
issue, here's an outlet. Here's somewhere you can go and know that a few of us are praying for you.
mm. When did you really start to be intentional with this leading from the heart stuff?
I would say that was probably the start when my mom
Mm,
died. And then
mm,
I dug into her prayer journals and I just saw that my mom was just always writing down people's names, including I have one sister and myself all through our whole life. And we were just kind of reading through this and all the prayers that were answered. And it just really
wow.
it just started to fill the heart. And she had like, I don't know, 50 books. We haven't even got through all of them. But as you read through that, you could just see she's praying for herself, going through times. Maybe it was difficulty, maybe it was celebration, as
Mm,
well as her friends and family. And it just was really impactful to read some of the writings that she had there.
mm. One of the things, because here at Always Been Yesterday, I help people connect with their heart set, that deeper than mindset and that essence and spirit of who they truly are, what they care about, what they stand for, gifts and skills and strengths and talents. And, one of the things that is the wonderful, the beauty and the complexity of being human is that we're not born with this playbook. We're not born with a here's your manual, here's the contents of your heart. Like in your experience, like what really helped you get absolute clarity? Because there are two life source energy, there are two energies, right? There's that of God and there's that of the enemy, and they're both trying to tell you something about your identity, right? They're both trying to tell you something about who you really are. How do you tap into that kind of God-given identity?
Well, and again, I'm not going to say it's easy. You have to work
Mm,
at it every day. And I
mm,
think for years I didn't work at it enough, and I really thought I could do it myself.
mhm,
And I didn't really tap into the power of what that faith could do. I
mm,
used to say these words like faith over fear,
mhm,
and so I was giving fear a place basically
mm,
in my life. And till some friend really woke me up and said, "Hey, why are you saying that? Why are you saying faith over fear? You should not have any fear. If you really look at the scriptures, it says, if you believe in God's love, there is no fear there.
mm,
So
mm,
stop saying it." So
mm,
I don't even know consciously if I knew what I was really doing, but then I think it's just a hunger. You kind of want more. There's a flip there, and I'm sure it was many signs. I mean, if we really look for the hand of God, I think we could see it every single day
yeah.
in our work in life. But I don't even think I was even open to looking at it. I really had a
Mm,
closed heart. I did not let a lot of things into my heart. I always thought, yeah, I should protect my heart, but I was afraid of stuff getting in there so much so that I didn't let much get in there. And
mm,
I think when you open it, obviously, yes, people are going to take advantage. You're going to you there is those type of things, but you got to trust people, and especially in leadership, we have to trust the people we work with. If we don't have trust, we're setting ourselves up for failure, and that's what I was kind of doing when I first took in 2016 to 2020. Is I didn't trust anybody, so
mm,
that was a really, and my self-doubt just, I continued to be more and more because I thought I could do this myself. So
mm,
once you do that, once you kind of surrender, you start to grow a little bit more and understand a little bit more.
mm. Yeah. It's, I laugh because I've been there, I've been that. There's the there's there's this curve, this almost like the imposter syndrome curve, the Dunning-Kruger curve, right? There's this bit that massively goes up. Your confidence goes up massively when you get this thing that you're really passionate about, right? And I think when you discover bits of who you are, the truth of who you are, maybe you discover your why. Like for me, I did the Simon Sinek stuff really early on, and I got clear on my why. Super passionate, super enthusiastic about it. And then comes the dip, which is this. Oh man, like whether there's an imposter syndrome that kicks in, whether there's like moments of, like you say, doubt, or maybe there's, for me, there was like, oh man, like I really, there's so much more. I know a lot, but there's so much more I don't know, and there's almost this dip in confidence. How do you continue to go through that kind of
Yeah. Well,
wavering?
I think I'm very blessed. I mean, at home, I have a supporting wife and family,
Mm,
and at work, a strategy officer, Dana, and we start the day. We text each other, we say a prayer for each other, and um, we know both of us are busy. She's in the operations. I'm more on the strategic side, and then we know at the end of the day we're going to catch up, and we have a promise
mm,
that we have to leave that meeting on a positive note. But I will, and that took some time. I was always in the day to day, and I was causing probably more issues than I was helping. But once I got out, and then I trusted her, and I trusted our leadership and our supervisors and directors.
mm,
That's when I think things really came to fruition. And then at the end of the day, imagine that you have an update every single day of what happened that day. I know today more about the company being outside of the operations than I ever did when I was in the day to day. And that is, I don't even know how to explain that, but I try to tell leaders that you will, if you really are open to it, you will understand your company so much better because you actually trust your people and they will
mm,
respond back. And that's
mm.
huge. It's been huge for me.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because that ability to trust, isn't it? That isn't an act of open-heartedness. So many people are distrusting because there's a closing, or there's a fear of not knowing, there's a fear of what might that look like for me, and being able to surrender. That's particularly as a CEO, that puts you in a vulnerable place
Oh, it
because
absolutely is. Yeah.
one thing goes wrong, and it's like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have trusted. I knew it.
No.
It's making a commitment to not close your heart.
and I messed up. I mean, there was one time I brought in, we in 2016, I saw from 2005 to 16 all these things that need to be changed. And I thought I'll just bring all this knowledge and expertise from the outside in to this
Mm.
culture.
Mhm.
And what I didn't realize was the impact that was going to have on the current culture here, which was a negative effect. So
Mm.
much so after 2 months, I had one guy come to me and say, there's going to be 15 of us walking tomorrow if you don't do something about this. And I
Mm.
knew something was kind of up. So the next day, I took my attorney and we walked out those six leaders that I hired. I kept one, but the rest
Mm.
of them were all gone. And
Wow.
it was a really, and that's where we started the whole process of getting our mission and vision, which was buried in a desk drawer, and our core
Mhm.
values. And we rewrote everything. We got on the same page.
Mm.
And it was blood, sweat, and tears. We all had to be on the same page for everything that and stand behind. But that was probably the turning point in how we really turned the culture around. Um, and I needed to do that. And for years, I watched my dad. I mean, he ran a lean and mean company, and it was very
Yeah, yeah.
successful. And he was there for the employees, and he really was satisfied. He and his partners were very satisfied with the growth over 3 years, which they should have been.
Mm.
And so I looked at that, and I did just had to say, is it the same company, or have things changed?
Mm.
And I think for me, there was a lot of changes there. Now you're working with 5 different generations of people. So
Wow.
you've got to be able to adjust and be able to work and see where things are headed. So
Mm.
it's been a phenomenal way to see this process change and how the company has changed too in the last few years.
I was fortunate enough to work with some really great leaders back in the police who are real committed to cultural and transformational change, but it still took, good 10 years for the normal way of operating to be the vision that was, give us some context. Like you say that you're always working on it, but how long has it taken for you to really kind of
Oh,
operationalize? Because that's the word we're talking about, isn't it? You're trying to go from, so many organizations will pay lip service to the values piece. They'll stick them on the wall, but the power is in the living them and operationalizing them. Tell us about that sort of thing
yeah.
process.
Well, first off, you have it. I didn't realize, but then I realized quickly it starts with you, the leader. You have to own yourself. I
Yeah.
didn't even have I didn't have strong values. I had a bunch of stuff that I was very highly reactive. I
Mm.
was not a good leader at the beginning. I was not taking care of myself. And so all those things together put me on a path where I had to take care of myself. I had to get into a daily routine. I had to start journaling, and I still do that today. I
Yep.
have a daily routine, and it's strong because I want to bring my A game every single day.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize the power of when the boss is negative or in a bad mood. Ooh,
Yeah.
it sets the
Yeah.
tone for
Yeah.
the whole company. And I did not realize the power in that.
Yeah.
And so every day I wake up every day. I want to come into work. I
Yeah.
just love it here. But it starts with you. How can you, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you expect to take care of others? I mean, it really comes down to that.
100%. 100%. And many great business leaders I know who haven't quite got the grasp of that yet will use the work to justify this is just what needs to be done. And it's like they're pulling from some sort of source that is finite rather than infinite. And there's I like the bit in the book where you talk about your heart rate variability. I wore a Whoop band for a
Yeah.
couple of
Yeah.
years, and there's nothing like the accountability a Whoop band gives you after a couple of drinks or a poor sleep or being shamed into my
Oh,
health by the Whoop
yeah.
band. Tell us about what you've gained from that.
I think my sleep was pretty crappy just to
Mhm.
start out, and my HRV started out like at 5. It was just so low.
It's like nearly
It
dead.
was oh, exactly. It was terrible. And what I didn't realize was that was awakening for me that I needed to eat better, exercise. I love to get outside, run and do other things, and I could see that this was having an impact on my body, but I had no way of measuring it until I really
Yeah.
got this, till I started tracking my Whoop data. And I worked with a coach on it. I just, I wanted someone to kind of explain it to me. So I did for about a year work with a Whoop coach and kind of get those numbers back up
Mm.
to where they should be. Even getting outside, being in the sunlight. I mean, all these things have an effect on our bodies, and I don't think I really understood
Mm.
that. And I drive my wife crazy. I'll look at my whoop numbers all the time, and I'll say I'll cheer, out loud. I'll say, oh, yeah, finally my HRV is going back up. She's like,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
um, but no, it is. There's a lot of I think for me it just, and if it's low, that it tells me, hey, if you're in a meeting, slow down.
Yes.
Don't need to be reactive. Or if it's really high, okay, watch yourself. I tend to get accelerated, so I have to watch that I don't get too accelerated. But it really has helped me a lot. And even this year, I'll tell you, I wanted to challenge myself more. And on January it was 3rd, I thought I could play basketball with our company team. They're all 20s. I'm 58. I'm running down the court. I fall and I fracture my right knee.
Oh
So
no.
I didn't know how that was going to look, but in the process, what it helped me discover, I wanted to avoid surgery. And so I have to stay off it till June. So that's a long time. But I discovered chair workouts. If you look on YouTube and you do
Yeah,
chair
yeah.
workouts, oh my gosh, my upper body was so weak. And you got to get over the fact that most of the people that you're watching these videos are women, and you have to really,
Put your ego
challenge
to one
yourself.
side. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But 1 minute with 10 pounds or 5 to 10 pounds in your arms going at 1 minute at a time with a little rest, it's challenging. And it
Mm.
really is a great workout. So funneling your energy, being able to look at issues and find another option,
Mm.
it's just been the way. Again, if that happens 6 years ago, next day I'm probably in surgery and I probably never run again.
Mm.
That's the mindset. That's how strong the mindset, and that's why it's important to stay healthy. Because I had a
Mm.
friend who also that same week she broke her knee skiing and she had surgery. And I just saw her this week, and she's kind of a mess. I
Mm.
don't, she just feels terrible. She can't hardly walk. She had the
Mm.
surgery, and and we're pretty close in age, but I thought that's just it. That's how strong the mindset. That's how our health is so important, no matter
Mm.
what age we are, because again, it gives us this power and the strength to overcome things, even to ourselves.
Mm. How do so so people have listening that have taken that on board for themselves. They're in positions of influence, positions of responsibility, whether they are parents, leaders, business owners, or things in between. Life is going to be stressful, right? We can't avoid the stress. We can't. Well, yeah, we can manage the busyness side of things, but so busyness and stress and health. How do you encourage leaders within your organization or people in general, maybe people listening, to expand that beyond themselves? So they've looked within, they've found the desire and the need to improve their own health. How do we create a culture of health without shaming people into get fit and healthy?
That's a great, it's a great question. I've really taken it upon myself that I wanted something preventive. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
our employees here, so our benefits, we're self-insured. We provide medical benefits for our employees, and we have a pretty good package, I will say. If you're an individual, no family, your health insurance is covered by the company.
Mm, mm,
Family, it's, I think the deductible is $500. Um, and so we encourage that through cost. But the bad side is our costs went up 400% from a company standpoint. So we had to do something.
mm,
So last year we kind of addressed this head on. Our broker said, "Oh, just pass all the costs to your employees. That's the only way you're going to survive this." I said, "Well, that doesn't do anything. How do we bring healthcare costs down?" And we kept being told, "Well, you can't bring healthcare costs down." Well, we thought about it some more, and we actually partnered with a medical company here in town in Omaha. And we now have 3 times a week, we have doctors and nurses on site in a medical office here on
mm,
site. So our
mm,
employees and their families can go during the day to the doctor for preventive, for colds, for COVID, or any type of virus. And it's more convenient because what they were doing is they were going after hours, they were going to urgent cares, they were going to hospitals, emergency rooms, and the costs were going up. So we're trying to control by taking care of that primary care piece
mm, mm,
and bringing that medical closer to them and encourage them to say,
mm.
you have something that most people don't have access to here. You
Mm,
should take advantage of this. This is for your benefit. So
yeah.
that's kind of how we're trying to lead again. And we're only in our third month, so we're going to watch this a little bit, but those are some of the ideas. Those are the things that I would say are great leaders. We could think outside the box and try to, again, look at issues, to your point, that most people would say you shouldn't, there's no way you can even make a dent in it. So that's what we're trying to do.
It's a commitment. It's a commitment, isn't it? Like you say, to put your people first. And one of the things I have to remind people about is that it's heart centered, not heart only. So, you know, I'm hearing great strategy, planning, operations. We're not saying to lead from the heart is to abandon all logic and reasoning. But I'd love to understand what you think are like the hallmarks, the core pillars of leading with the heart.
Core pillars. Well, again, like I said, you need to own yourself first. You need to get healthy.
Yeah.
And then I think you have to have a strong why. Absolutely. I think you do. I had to work at mine. My why was not that strong. Dana, our chief strategy officer, would always ask me, and after an hour, it would change, or it would change again, and she would challenge it some more.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to find it for yourself. And mine
Mm-hmm.
is a person of faith who coaches people up and leads from the heart. And then I think for me, I think the journaling activity has really helped me. I have to have an intentional journaling. It just has to
Mm,
be intentional. I have columns, I have spaces I have to fill in. I'm not one who can just sit down and write, free form every
mm,
day. I have to list out my top three goals. What's my intention for the day?
mm,
Um, where did I see wins? What am I grateful for? And then the one that really made the difference for me, I have to every single day list what I was uncomfortable with yesterday.
mm,
And that one has been the one that has really been the difference maker for me, because
mm,
before, with leadership, what keeps you up at night? What are those things? By writing it down, now you're taking the power out of it, and you can really decide, do
mm.
I spend more time here, or is this something that I do need to work through, and you can plan for it. But it really, by writing it down, you've really taken the power of it, and it doesn't have to weigh on you.
Hmm. Yeah, that's powerful. I've been going through your book, and there are some real key themes around faith and encouragement, courage, intention, compassion, and then there's the kind of I guess where we get to the more um, tricky bits, which is your vulnerability being strength, and you talk about how vulnerability for you is having to slow down and seek, particularly during COVID. Like, how have you discovered vulnerability to be your strength, particularly as a CEO?
I think it's really being true with yourself. I probably overshare a little bit, but I think people want to see that. They want to know that
Mm,
you're authentic as a leader.
mm,
You're not giving lip service. Um,
mm,
I think in this world today, everyone, I mean, especially I think it's sports, everyone leaves for a different team because of more money, and they say, "Oh, I really love my time there," but the dollar always, says something. Or, um, I think the other one too for me, the vulnerability is I need I need to learn everybody's name. That
yeah,
by
yeah,
just learning everybody's name, 300, I still have a hard time with 300 employees, and I
yeah,
try to do that once a year, just meet with every single person. But if I see somebody in the hall, I really want to call them by name, because when I do that, I've noticed it really changes the tone. It makes things
yes,
personal.
yes,
And I think back in my corporate life, I never heard my name called. I mean, I just never did. And you could
yeah,
go a whole day, "Hey, you," or, over here, or, I
yeah,
mean, you
yeah,
just never heard it. But once you heard your name, you would stop, because you
mm.
wondered, oh, this must be serious, or somebody is trying to get my attention here. So
Yeah, it's the demonstration of care, isn't it? And and there you go a step further and remember the kids' names, the wife's name. Like, obviously, let's be realistic with 300, but your circle of influence, that's the powerful thing is you know it's one thing to say I want a culture of care, right? And then the next thing is, well, what are the hallmarks of what are, and it is the heart that has the answer. When you start to learn to listen to the answer, you just think, well, I'm going to seek first to understand. I'm going to get to know my people as people, not just what they can produce and contribute. And when you have those commitments, it doesn't need to be a plan or a strategy to be heart led. Just connect with your heart, and your words and your actions become a manifestation of that which is already within, right? I think like there's a proverb or something that says a man is the product of his heart.
Yeah, exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. Exactly. Exactly.
Mm. One of the things I've shared on the podcast before, one of these scriptures, there are various different versions of the Bible and the different translations. And I was reading the thorns in the flesh bit, Paul pleading to God, thorns in his flesh, please, remove these thorns from my flesh. And in the Passion Translation, God's response is slightly different. It's not in your weakness you're made strong. It says, in your weakness you will find my fullest expression.
Yeah.
And that translation just blew my mind, because it's like, actually, my weakness, it makes space for God's fullest expression to be manifest in me and through me.
Yeah. No, I think, and I've read I like the Passion Translation for certain verses too,
Mm,
because again, it sparks something, or it just really does ignite something in your heart deep that
mm,
again, that it just gives you thought, like it gives it a different thought. It almost, sometimes I hate to say not meaning, but maybe individual meaning for yourself. You've never
yeah,
read it that way, or you just, wow, I never saw it. I didn't really think of it that way.
yeah.
So no, it is powerful, definitely powerful.
Well, it's that we are meaning makers, aren't we, as human beings? And I guess the meaning will be whatever, it will motivate us to do whatever. And I'm just looking down here at my notes here in your book. It says, when the heart is open, it naturally goes towards people, which is a great one-liner from your book, which is exactly kind of summarizing what we're just saying.
Yeah. No, working with Dan, she gave me these three words: people, process, and technology, and it's in the book. And that really hit me. It
Mhm,
is. It's always
mhm,
that order: people, process, and technology. And it has to be. I used to get it. I was always out of order. I used to try to
mhm,
solve things through technology. And you see that today with AI. I get a little tired of all the AI talk, but
mhm, mhm,
it still comes down to people.
mhm,
And if you get the people thing right, if you get people in the right place, if you treat people right, you've got to have some processes for consistency. The
mhm,
technology, overlaying the technology, makes it so much easier if you keep that
mhm.
order. So much easier.
What gets in the way? What slips you from that focus and commitment? Is there anything you have to be aware of that you bring your intention and focus back?
Um, bring your I mean, everyone likes exciting technology. I think the technology is always a little bit exciting. I remember, when the iPhone came out, that was pretty. It was something like we'd never seen before.
Mm,
So, and even, new software packages that can do certain things. There's always an excitement there, but it really, again, if it really comes through, if someone shows me a, a unique trick, or somewhere, if I get that learning from somebody else, it usually sticks with me a lot more than
mm,
if I try to figure out. There's no way I can figure out all this technology in the world. How's that going to work? But again, I think a word or two from somebody else, I'm
mm,
finding the power in that is so much more so though, even technology. I think I was always trying to look for technology to solve it because I was only looking at myself and my self-interest. But
mm,
when you really start to bring others along, you really get stronger in a whole new way.
mm. You've made a commitment to share some more insights on LinkedIn. I've been seeing your videos and things like that. What's your motive for that? Why do you share content like that?
Um, I I I think in the when I was came back in 2005 in marketing, I was really into the whole content piece, and I did a
Mm-hmm.
lot of blogs for work and stuff, and management and leadership. I used to write a lot of things, but I think I needed to make the change to something even more personal, or
Mm,
purposeful. I'm sorry, purposeful. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to continue to do that. If I fall on my sword because of my values, then I fall on my sword because of values. Um, and I thought, it doesn't need to be too long, just a short little message This is how, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm praying.
Mm,
And I've just found a close connection. Actually, a lot of those people that I met on LinkedIn, I've met in person now, and it's
mm,
just amazing to me, the
mm,
network. When people, when you surround yourself with other people with similar values, you really, that's the powerful thing. I want to do work with people that I can trust. I mean, that would, isn't that the
mm.
ultimate? If you can get a client that you can trust, that you're adding value to, I mean, that's going to be a strong relationship for a long time. And so why would I not do that more? Now there's accountability there, and
Yeah,
definitely, and it holds you to a whole new standard. So you do need to watch everything that you're doing. But that should be a good thing. We should all be held to a higher
mm,
standard, especially leaders. We should not be doing crappy stuff. We should not be doing stuff that's in the papers or all this crazy stuff in the media that we see in some of the leaders that do things. We should
yeah,
be working to our heart. We should be have stronger values, morals, those things. So it does, there's a lot of commitment and responsibility that comes along with that. But I'd rather die on the sword. If LinkedIn shuts me down, I mean, that, you never know. I mean, social media, anything can happen. And I've seen that happen too, but I'll continue to go till we'll see what happens. But I'd rather, again, live that way than artificial or fake. Um, I don't want to do that, I guess.
yeah. It's the phrase resonates comes from, almost like a symbolic of sound and energy and frequency, which means that whatever you put out, if people resonate with it, they're on the same frequency, same wavelength, and that's how we create authentic, genuine connection. I think sometimes it's equally, there's this idea that vision unites, right? Vision, having a vision. I think vision also divides. I think vision articulated clearly says you're not for this bus. This bus isn't for you. And I think that's equally important.
Yeah. No, and I would say, I think we make things more difficult than they are. We hear about these terms like diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
and with that, we have to do all these things for that. It really comes down to respecting people. I'll tell you, our company is more diverse and is more respected than it's ever been in its
Yes.
history.
Yes.
And it's really about the respect for people, um,
Yes.
and their beliefs and their systems. But you will not. I would put our company against any company as far as diversity and tell you that
100%.
everyone respects each other. And if you
Yes.
don't, that attitude rises to the top in a strong culture, and we deal with it, and we and
Mm-hmm.
we call it out.
Yes, you don't need to be intellectually educated on what being a good person, which is why I have an issue with sometimes a lot of this stuff being forced into my children's face, particularly in school. All this education on kids don't understand that, like kids are the purest thing, right? They're the closest thing, the most recent to God's presence. They are pure. And I think, for me, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging is just it's an arse covering exercise, because at the heart of it, the more difficult thing to do would be to create cultures of
So
oneness and love, right? Like our good teacher says, but not from a, and so that it is that position of oneness. Oneness isn't sameness, right?
mhm,
Is that we can be one team, but we each have, and that's the context that sets, that is the context for diversity. It's in our oneness, not our sameness. I appreciate your differences. I now understand them rather than I fear them, because I think human beings fear what they don't know. And if we're being educated on stuff, I don't think it's that. I don't think that's the pathway for me to go, oh, I really appreciate that now.
yeah, yeah,
You've actually
exactly.
highlighted more differences that I wasn't aware of.
Right, right, right. I can only take care of things today. If it happened 100, 200 years ago, I mean, I can be brought up. I had one person come to me and said, I got my last name from a slave master, and I don't know where the rest of my family came from. Well, I felt terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
that was really at the core of that person's identity. It makes
Mm,
sense. That hurt.
mm,
That probably does hurt. I'm not gonna take that away. But the fact that I again, I want to learn more and find out where this is coming from,
mm,
versus you hear stuff in the media, well, we need to respect people of this race or this religion because of things that happened 500 years ago. I I don't, I can't change what happened 500 years ago. I
Mm,
wasn't here 500
mm.
years ago. And it seems like more and more negative stuff is happening. And that's, remember, the whole taking down statues and destroying things, changing it. We can't change history, but we were trying to do that for a period there. And it just seemed so crazy. If that happened in history, that's terrible. But we don't have to accept that and continue it. So yeah, I think forgiveness, respect,
Mm,
um, and really just trying to understand each other more is at the heart of it. We don't have to
mm,
make it more than that without
mm.
tons of rules or procedures or policies or things like
Well,
that.
the harder thing to do is to do exactly the title of your book, which is for leaders to look within. Because Jordan Peterson, love him or hate him, he says this wonderfully complex phrase was that, people take on pseudo moralistic stances, which is that people would rather look like they're a good person rather than develop the attributes to be a good person, which is why we've got so many moral activists, social justice activists trying to fix the world when actually they would benefit from fixing, their own situations, right? So it's really noisy, but that section of the population is very noisy, and I think it's not to say that we're dismissing those ideas, or certainly I'm not, but I think your book, particularly, is an invitation inwards before before trying to change the world. How about you just look within and
Mhm.
come to peace with who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. I can't say that any better. That's
Let's turn attention to being a father, if you don't mind. I'm a father of
yeah.
two. You're a father of five. Like, how does one lead from the heart, lead with faith in the home? Like, what can I learn from your wisdom?
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you brought this up. It was the one piece I did leave out of the book
Hmm.
intentionally. I didn't know how this book was going to be. It was one piece that I thought, it has an impact. And so I am writing book two, and book
Hmm.
two will, family is a huge impact on a person's leadership. And we should lead from, and it's starting in our homes. And what
Mm.
does that look like? So I am writing book two that includes that. It kind of builds on the values of book one, but family is key. I mean, I think for years, again, I brought my reactivity home and I wasn't present. I was not
Yeah.
present.
Hmm.
And so I really have tried to work at being present. I had two daughters get married last summer, and I actually took the time before each wedding day, took time off from work and just said, I'm going to work. I do not want to be distracted. I want to enjoy this moment
Hmm.
because it will never happen again on this
Mm.
wedding day. And it was probably the most peace I've been for a long time, because I used to be highly distracted, and I've gotten better, obviously, but I even knew that it was going to take some attention there. So we need to
Mm.
be intentional and present, I think, with our own family, and
Mm.
just really listen to what our kids are saying
Mm.
and where they're looking and what they see. My kids read my first book, and it was really it was eye-opening to see their responses. They had no idea that I thought the way I did. They had no idea. They always wonder what's inside dad's brain. He's so quiet. And I am a processor, and I'm
Yeah.
sometimes way to the over the top sometimes, but I think it really helped them connect to
Mm.
see me in a whole different light and appreciation. So I thought the book was
Mm.
really, if I had one suggestion for people, is, write a book, put something down on paper so people can, your kids, your family will even understand you better. There's also a story behind the book. I wrote the book with a ghostwriter for the
Hmm.
first year.
Hmm.
And after the first year, I had my wife read it, and she said, "This isn't you." And I took a whole nother year. And the reason it wasn't me is I did not have the faith component in it from the
Mm.
first part.
Mm.
I went back and forth because we were in the middle of COVID. We were in the middle of all that extremism, that all the
Mm.
stuff that was happening. And then again, that was when I really made the choice to say, this is my wife's right. This is who I am. I'm a person of faith. I need to put that in the book. And the book was so much better after writing it. Again, spending another year and infusing that into every chapter of the book.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so family definitely is a huge piece, and I can't wait for the second book to be done. I'm about third of the way writing it through it. but it definitely builds on that concept. And that's most people don't pick that up. But if you read my book, I don't mention my family too much in there.
Hmm.
And I have 5 kids, and they couldn't be more different. So they're
Hmm.
I'll go fast, but my oldest is an attorney. My second one is a dancer. She's on the Aladdin tour right now in Canada right now.
Yeah.
My third one is over in Rome, Italy. He is going to be a priest in June.
Yeah.
My fourth one is a marketing person at a local university, Creighton, here in Omaha. And my fifth is she taught a year, and she's over in Rome too, studying 9 months. And she's going to come back and either do something with the church or teaching. So yeah, so
Mm,
couldn't be more different. Who'd have thought? I have 2 kids over in Italy. So
yeah.
there you go.
Amazing. Well, nice to have an excuse to travel to Europe, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, what do you think faith brings to your leadership? Like how would your leadership No, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say how would it be lacking in absence of what does your leadership gain through your faith? How
You
does
know,
it supercharge it?
I think that's a great question. I met with another owner who kind of followed. We kind of met at a conference, and he says, "I love your posts every day." He says, "I just have to tell you though, I don't have that faith upbringing like you had. I don't have that, but I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
like what you say and what you stand for. I'm trying to build that in my own company,
yeah.
and I think the difference is it's a place to go.
Mm,
I think of even when I was having a lot of turmoil and the fight or flight, everyone needs a place to go to. And if you
mm,
don't have strong values or strong faith, I don't know where you go to. Do you go to the bottle? Do you go to, where do you find relief?
mm,
And I think by thinking of something bigger than ourselves,
mm,
uh, that really brings perspective in for
yeah.
me. And I have to spend time there. But I think that's what it is we all know that with God, there's something bigger
Mm.
than ourselves. And then if you don't have that, I don't know where you go, I guess. You're going to try to find your solution in something else.
Trying to alleviate your suffering in one of one of several ways. I was talking to neuroscientists recently, and they talk about the neuroscience of addiction, and it is about trying to change your emotional states. There's so many people will use addictions or substances as a pathway to either the alleviation of suffering, or maybe some of the hallucinate drugs to gain that spiritual kind of state, but they're not of the source. They are of a temporary solution. And yeah, when we really do, but when we really truly do connect with Holy Spirit, or we talk, whether that be in the presence, like that's what people are trying to short circuit, and it is that. And I think what it then moves from is a righteousness. I don't think any religion does well by trying to be righteous. I think it's about invitation for the experience and for the relationship. And I think that has a transformational effect from the inside out. It's fruits of our spirit, right? When we spend more time in the presence of the spirit, then we are transformed and filled from the inside out, where our words and our actions and our deeds. People might look at me now. So I only came to faith about 5 years ago. Grew my hair, I look like a right old hippie right now. But my colleagues from a past life, they'd be like, "Who's this guy? Who's this
Yeah.
guy? He's talking about things he would." Because I was an analyst, right? I was an intellectual, um, and and now I'm talking about all this sort of stuff. They'd be like, "But that's testimony to it, isn't it? It's transformation from the inside out." And I know that with my faith, my leadership is better, it's more loving, it's more sacrificial, serving. My parenting is better. My marriage has um, deeper commitment and values to the marriage, not just our own individual, happiness. Like it's been transformational, and I can't imagine having to navigate this world and this culture without something like that to guide us.
Yeah, no, I think that's you hit it on the head, and I think we're always working on, and I don't say working on it, but it's
Yeah.
always there. We can always grow and learn. I think all the time. I think that's the beauty of it. We don't know. I don't know. I don't have. all the answers. I always feel like I'm just getting started all the time. But
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it, I think, too. We've experienced more and more. There's no end to it.
Yeah. Brent, I'm glad there's people out there like you leading with heart, leading in this world, and trying to bring a bit more love to the marketplace, the workplace. I'm looking forward to book 2. Honored that you come and spent time with us. How can people connect with you? How can they find out more about you and the work that you do?
Yeah. I have 2 sites, CEO of heart.com, and you can go there. You can find about the book. You could start that process of learning more about yourself. And then on LinkedIn, I think that's probably the best place to reach me. I I put up something almost daily, and I'm even trying to go into more of the thought leadership pieces too on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn a little bit more. And I just think, as we said in the beginning, we need leaders like never before.
Mm.
And I think once you grasp that and people see that, you can lead at wherever position you're at. You don't have to be at the top of the company. You don't have to be, you
Mm.
can be the leader at your home, your work, your church, your community. Um, but find it for yourself. It's personal.
Mm.
You have to discover it for yourself.
Mm. How far is Omaha from Knoxville, Tennessee?
Oh gosh, probably 8 hours.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a very good friend, Jonathan Darling. He's a good friend of the community, good friend of the show. He's definitely someone I want to connect you with because I know you guys will have a heart on fire type conversation. You're both from the same playbook. A big heart for leadership, leading with love, heart for Jesus, and so I'm going to connect you two after this show. But thank you so much for spending time with us. Um, as I said earlier about the word Heartprint, it's about the ripple effect. It's about the legacy. It's about the possibilities we create in the lives of other people. Brent, I invite you to do a bit of pre-flexion. You know, coming to the end of your days and you're looking back, what do you hope that your Heartprint will be?
Say that one more time. That was that last part.
What do you hope your Heartprint will be?
What do I hope my heart would be? I know.
What legacy do you hope to leave?
Yeah, it's kind of a prelude to the book, but I'm actually excited about a succession plan. I know that used to be the worst words for my dad because I don't think he knew how to do that. But right now, I'm looking at a 10-year succession plan. What does that look like? Because I know our employees always want to know where the company's going, and I know our family wants to know where you're going. So I think by looking out 10 years, what does 10 years look like? It's really a driving force. And I think, to your point, you can build your legacy and put pieces in there that you want to see move forward.
Mm.
And to me, that's really exciting that we have the chance to do that. It's not something reactive where you have to put a succession plan together yesterday, but we can take the time to really plan it out and see where do we think this thing is going to go. No one knows the future, but I think just putting some pieces in place will help drive and can do and keep that commitment toward values strong and alive.
Love it. Brent, thank you so much for your time, brother.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, my friends, thank you for making it to the end. I hope that our time spent together today has left you a little bit better than before you push play. I'd really appreciate if you just took a moment to leave a review to allow me to meet more people where they are and hopefully leave them a little bit better too. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organisation, then head to alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com to connect. And while you're there, let me know 1 or 2 things that you're going to do as a result of listening to this conversation. I absolutely love hearing your thoughts, your reflections, and the things that this spark in your own heart and mind. If you want more insights from my heart and mind, I do send out short episodes on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and again, I hope that they serve you well. I appreciate you listening. I'm Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, a podcast for heart-centered leaders just like you. Keep leading, my friends. Always love.